Hey there, your boss just swung by and dropped another urgent project on your desk. Your to-do list is already so long it could be a CVS receipt. You feel that familiar anxiety creeping in. Your heart starts doing a weird tap dance and you want to scream, "Are you kidding me?" But the words get stuck somewhere in your throat. You're terrified that if you say no, you'll be labeled as difficult or not a team player. Or worse, you'll be updating your LinkedIn profile by the end of the day. So what do? You just nod, give a little weak smile, and add it to the pile, feeling the soul-crushing weight of burnout settle in. But what if I told you there's a way to say no that protects your time, saves your sanity, and actually makes you look a lot more strategic and professional? What if you could turn that moment of panic into a moment of power that builds trust and respect? It's not a fantasy. It's a simple but brilliant communication move called the no and technique. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to use it to set boundaries without getting fired, so you can take back control of your workload and honestly, your life, at the same time that you help your team and your organization move forward. This is one of those moments where leadership isn't about doing more. It's about leading smarter. And this ties directly into my full circle leadership practice, especially the practices I call get it out, knowing what to cut, and get vital, which is about delegation and protecting your energy. This isn't just a productivity hack. It's a leadership practice. Before we fix the problem, though, we have to call it what it is. That gut-wrenching fear you feel when you need to push back. It isn't just in your head. It's a totally normal response to some weird workplace dynamics we've all been taught to accept. There are a few big reasons why that simple two-letter word, no, feels like career suicide at work. First, the obvious one, the power dynamic. Let's be honest, the relationship between you and your boss isn't exactly an even playing field. They have a say in what you work on, your reviews, your shot at a raise, and your overall job security. That creates a very real fear that saying no will be seen as insubordination and come with consequences. There's often this unspoken rule to be flexible, which really just means your job description is more of a vague suggestion. Second, there's the team player trap. From day one, we're told to be collaborative, helpful, positive. Saying yes feels like the ultimate team player move, right? So saying no can make you feel like a selfish jerk who isn't committed to the team. Many office cultures praise the person who's always on and never says no, even if they're secretly drowning and their work is getting sloppy. It feels like you have to choose between your well-being and your reputation. The third reason is a sneaky one. People who have no boundaries themselves. Think about it. People who don't respect their own limits get really uncomfortable when other people have them. When you set a boundary with a boss or coworker who's a chronic people pleaser, they can take your no as a personal attack. Their discomfort makes everything awkward, which makes it even harder for you to stick to your guns. And all this leads to the most damaging result, the burnout spiral. Study after study shows that a lack of work-life boundaries and the inability to disconnect are the fastest ways to get to emotional exhaustion and burnout. And when you're burnt out, your happiness and productivity go right out the window, or down the tubes, whichever metaphor you like. When you keep saying yes, you're not just adding a task, you're chipping away at your energy and your mental health in a world that's always connected and always on. So yeah, my point is, the fear is real and we're not totally crazy for having it. It's justified, but it doesn't have to run the show. Understanding these forces and the parameters and the limits is the first step. Now, let's talk about the tool that will help you be strategic, productive, and do all the great things you want to do at work. Honestly, saying no at work can feel harder than turning down your grandma's meatloaf when she's standing right there holding the serving spoon. There's guilt, there's pressure, and there's that voice in your head whispering, "They're never going to ask you to the company picnic again." And here's the kicker. This isn't just about feelings. Neuroscience tells us that when we anticipate conflict, our amygdala and our brain lights up like a Christmas tree. Your body interprets a simple, "Can you take this on?" as a potential threat to your survival, to your success, which explains why you start sweating like you've been cast in an action movie. So if you've ever thought, "Why am I so bad at saying no?" Congratulations, you're human. Okay, so we've all agreed that saying no is terrifying, especially at work. Now for the good part, the solution. It's a beautifully simple communication framework I call the no and technique. Some people say no but I like and way better. It feels more collaborative and less like you're about to start a fight with someone or just completely ignore their request. This isn't just about turning down a task. It's about turning a conversation from a dead end into a productive, problem-solving, strategic session. The whole idea is inspired by a rule from improv that I learned called yes and. In improv, you never shut down your partner's idea. You accept it, yes, and then you add to it, and. We're just tweaking it for the office. The no and technique works by painting a clear no with a constructive offer. You're not a roadblock, you're a strategic partner. Let's break down the two parts. First, the no. This is your boundary. It needs to be clear, direct, kind, and respectful. This is not the time for wishy-washy excuses or rambling apologies. Phrases like, well, I'm not sure if I can, or I'm just really swamped, so maybe, are weak and they're not clear. They're basically an invitation for someone to push you, and again, to misunderstand what you're saying. Your no needs to be firm, kind, and gentle. It shows you know your limits and you're committed to doing good work. Second, and this is the magic, is the and. This is the bridge you build right after you set your boundary. The and shows that even though you can't do the thing they just asked, you're still in the team, you still care about the goal and what they need, and you want to help figure it out. This is the part that completely destroys the fear of being seen as not a team player. It transforms you from someone just refusing to do something into someone who's managing priorities and thinking strategically. Using this technique completely reframes how people see you. A person who just says yes to everything can eventually be seen as someone who can't manage their own time because you've said yes to everything. They become the office workhorse, not the strategic thinker. But a person who says, no, I can't do that right now, and here's how we can still solve this problem and get the need met, is showing a whole different level of skill. You're showing that you're organized, thoughtful, you understand priorities, and you're a proactive problem solver. You're actually a solution finder. This doesn't just save you from burnout. It makes you even more valuable. Look, frameworks like this aren't just tricks. They're practices I've taught to thousands of leaders who are on the edge of burnout. And the science backs it up. Boundary setting is directly linked to lowering cortisol and improving performance. So when you practice no and, you're not just surviving your job, you're leading like a pro. And let's be clear, always saying yes doesn't make you a hero. It makes you the office sponge, soaking up everyone else's workload until you're wrung dry. Real leadership isn't about being the hero who saves the day. It's about building the kind of team and culture where no one has to. All right, theory's nice, but let's get down to business. Here's a simple 3-step process you can use every single time you're asked to do something that you know you just can't do in the moment. First, pause and understand the request. Your gut reaction might be just blurt out yes out of habit. The smartest thing you can do is pause. Just take a beat. Take a breath. Don't jump to an answer. Instead, ask a few questions to clarify what they're really asking for. This is 2 brilliant things. It shows the other person you're taking them sincerely, and it buys you a few precious seconds to figure out your response. You can use simple, non-committal questions like, thanks for thinking for me for this. Can you tell me a little bit more about the timeline and what a successful outcome looks like? Or, that sounds interesting. Where does this fall in terms of priority compared to Project X that I'm currently working on and some of our other initiatives? And list them out specifically. Or, I want to make sure I understand, what does a home run look like for this project? Asking these questions makes you look diligent, not difficult. And it also helps you get more clarity. And a lot of times, just by talking it through, you or your boss might realize you're not the right person for the job anyway, or that the deadline isn't as urgent as it sounded. You might even come up with other ways to accomplish the goal. Step 2, state your no clearly and concisely. Once you have the info and you know you can't take it on, it's time to deliver the no. The key here is to be direct, honest, brief, and kind. Don't tell a long, dramatic story about how busy you are and everything else you have going on. Those become very distracting. Being super apologetic also just makes you sound less confident. Your no should be about your work and your commitment to quality, not about your feelings or how busy you are. Also, use I statements to own your capacity. Here are some examples. Thank you for explaining that and letting me know. Unfortunately, I don't have the capacity to take that on in its current state right now. Don't worry, we're going to get to the and in a second. Or, I appreciate you thinking of me. My plate's full with our current priorities, and I couldn't give this attention it deserves. Or, okay, that's great. Based on my current workload, I can't meet that deadline without the quality of my other work suffering. See how those are firm but totally respectful? No blame, no excuses, just facts about your current capacity. That kind of clarity builds trust. Okay, step 3 and the part you're waiting for. Offer the solution. This is the final crucial step. So we've asked for some clarity about what the project really looks like, what success is. We're giving ourselves a pause. We come in with a very clear no about our capacity, and then we add the and. This is what makes you a problem solver, a solution finder, not a problem maker. Right after you state your boundary, you follow it up with a collaborative offer. This is your and there are a few different flavors of and that you can use. First, the and of reprioritization. This is perfect for when your boss is making the request. You hand the decision back to them. Here's an example. Thanks for explaining all that. I can't take it on right now and still have the quarterly report on your desk by Friday. And I'd be happy to sit down and review my task list with you. If this new project's more important, we can decide together what gets pushed. Okay, the other type of and is the and of an alternative timeline. This is when you can do it, just not right now. Here's what it sounds like. Okay, thanks for clarifying that for me. I won't be able to get that full analysis done by Wednesday, and I can have it finished and in your inbox by next Monday. Would that work for you? Next, there's the and of delegation. Got to be careful with this one, but hear me out. This is for when you're genuinely not the best person for the job. Here's what it sounds like. Hey, thanks for clarifying that for me and letting me know what success looks like. My focus right now is entirely on the marketing launch, so I'm not the best person for this. And I know David in IT is a wizard with some of the stuff you're describing that would be necessary for this and could probably get you an answer much faster than I could. Now, you want to be careful that you're not numbing on David, but if you think he or she, whomever, is the best person for the job, you want to make that suggestion. And next, there's the and of a scaled down solution. This is where you offer to help in a smaller way. It can sound like this. That's great. Thanks for explaining that to me and letting me know what success looks like. I don't have the bandwidth to build the whole 20-slide deck. And what I can do is get you the key data points and 3 summary bullets for each section by the end of the day. Would that help? By mastering these 3 steps, understand, state your no, and offer the solution, you create a communication loop that protects your time and makes you look like a rock star solution finder. And yes, it really does work. I've seen leaders go from yes to everything zombies to people who can look their boss in the eye and calmly say, I can't do that right now, and here's a better option. Also, I used this myself and came up with it after years of struggling with my own self-imposed burnout. It's like going from microwave ramen to Michelin star meal. Same ingredients, totally different experience. Now here's where this ties into the Get Vital practice, energy management. Every time you say yes to something you shouldn't, you're basically taking out an energy loan with 29% interest. You will pay it back, usually in stress, exhaustion, and mediocre work. Saying no and is how you keep your energy equity intact. And if you're thinking, this sounds great, but my boss is scarier than a velociraptor who's hungry. Believe me, I get it. That's exactly why this technique matters. You don't tame the dinosaur by running faster. You tame it by learning to manage the train, by being strategic and still being a partner. Let me share a real leadership story. Back when I was president of a large organization, we'd miss the quarterly budget numbers. Fear would take over, and what do? Call more meetings, make more PowerPoints, go into a panic, create endless reports to prove how hard we were working. Did it help? No, not even a little. What finally worked was someone on the team saying, no, we can't keep piling on busy work, and here's what we can do to stabilize revenue this quarter. It was a wake-up moment for me. That was the turning point, when someone finally chose clarity and courage over panic. As you start to use the no and technique, something amazing starts to happen. This isn't just about you managing your own work anymore. You are actually helping build a healthier, saner workplace for everyone. Every time you professionally communicate your capacity, you're teaching your team how to work with you, and your boss will start to see you as someone who can be trusted to deliver high-quality work because you protect the time that you need to do it. That builds more trust, not less. And when you set healthy boundaries, you give other people the unspoken permission to do the same. You actually become more collaborative and more trusted. When a more junior person on your team sees you confidently negotiating your workload and theirs, it shows them that it's safe and okay to do. It normalizes conversations about what's actually possible, which moves the whole team away from a culture of chaos and toward one of smart, proactive planning. A team where nobody can say no is a team on a fast track to burnout, missed deadlines, chaotic work, and probably not very effective work either. But a team where people feel safe enough to be honest about their workload is a team that's more innovative, more efficient, and way more successful. And it can start with you. And this is where my approach really matters. I'm not just giving you theory here. I've led teams at the highest levels, and I know firsthand how a leader's ability to set healthy boundaries ripples out across the entire culture. If you don't protect your energy, your team won't either. And that's how you end up with a whole department running on fumes. When you set a clear boundary, you're not just helping yourself, you're modeling a new normal. It's a brave new way of leading. You're saying, hey, this is how we can all stay sane, be wildly effective and efficient. And trust me, the junior people on your team, they're watching. They're learning how to lead from how you lead. Now, let's talk about one of the biggest myths in corporate life, the hero leader. You know the one. The person who says yes to everything, pulls all-nighters, and acts like they can carry the company on their back. They look impressive for a while, but eventually, they will flame out. The organization loses a talented person, and the team is left cleaning up the mess. The truth is, being a hero at work is like being the person at a dinner party who insists on doing all the dishes while everyone else relaxes. Sure, you look helpful, but eventually, you just look tired, wet, and slightly resentful. The real leaders, the ones who sustain success, know how to say no. They delegate, they reprioritize, they know their limits. And ironically, that's what makes them promotable. No executive team ever said, let's give the big job to the person who looks the most exhausted. If you think about it, wisdom traditions have been telling us this for centuries. The Stoics taught that we only control what we say yes and no to, not the world's demands. Buddhism teaches the middle way, avoiding extremes, which means avoiding the extreme of overcommitment. Even modern psychology tells us that boundaries aren't selfish, they're essential to healthy relationships. So when you say no, you're standing in a long lineage of people who learned that the most loving, powerful thing you can do is protect what matters most. So let's wrap this up. That feeling of dread when another project lands on your full plate is universal. The fear of saying no is real, and it comes from real workplace pressures. But just being a yes person is a recipe for burnout and doing mediocre work. The answer isn't just to say no, but to say it strategically. The no and technique is your key. It lets you set a firm boundary while showing you're a committed problem solver, which you are. Remember the 3 steps. First, understand the request and pause. Second, state your no clearly, kindly, and directly without a rambling apology. And third, offer the and, a collaborative way forward. Saying no the right way isn't a career ender, it's a career shaper. It shows you respect your work, you control your time, you care about people who need things, and you're dedicated to excellence, not just checking off boxes. It lifts you from being just a doer to being a strategic player. You're not just a team player, you're the kind of player that makes the whole team better. Remember, saying no isn't selfish, it's leadership. And if anyone tries to get you into believing otherwise, just know you're not rejecting them. You're protecting the conditions for everyone to do better work. Just say it. No and. And this is why in my full circle leadership practice, I emphasize energy management and strategic boundaries. This is how leaders move from burned out to fired up. And it's how you not only keep your job, you actually thrive in it. If this video really landed for you, drop me some comments. I love reading them. And of course, hit subscribe to get more great tips on how to thrive in the 9 to 5 and beyond. Happy thriving.